All right. First of all, I just want to thank Vendasta for having us in today. Definitely appreciate being able to come out and speak to everybody here today. As Alan mentioned, I'm Mike and this is Megan. We're from YasTech Developments. We run a website design company here in Saskatoon. We also do application development, both on web and desktop. Company's been around just over 9 years now, so getting close to our 10-year anniversary. Started just me, and now we're a small team, and things are going well. So that's me.
Well, I think I screwed up our button.
You need a mic.
There we go. Okay, so Mike told you we're YasTech. Our topic, we picked content is king for one main reason. Obviously, there's lots of stuff that's essential in making a website. Main thing that we always struggle with, or our clients struggle with, is coming up with good content. So, they come up to us, we make a website for them, and then they're like, well, what do I put on it? And so we're like, well, you kind of need to come up with that. So that's kind of where we have a lot of trials and tribulations with our clients. So we thought it'd be a good thing to talk about, some tips on how to do that. So since content is king is kind of a cliche, the cash is king, content is king, we thought we'd go with the cliche theme for the presentation. So we have 4 cliches on why content is essential to your website, and then 4 more cliches on how to make good content. So I'll let Mike start with the first one.
All right, so as Megan said, content is probably the most important thing. It's important to website essential. And one of the most important is the visual appeal, which includes pictures, fonts, colors, all those kinds of things for your website. Most people nowadays, the first impression they get of your company is by your website. So when they come to your website, it's very important that you use high quality images that draw them in. Use images that are attractive, not something they don't want to look at. And use images that create emotion. Obviously in sales you want to draw them in and make them feel something when they come to your website. So it's very important. Images are a big part of that, and do that. Font is also a very important aspect of the visual appeal part of your website. Basically, it helps you create your brand and feeling and overall look at the website. And then colors as well, kind of last thing in the visual appeal side, helps you create your brand, makes you recognizable, but also can portray emotion. PayPal uses blue because it's a color that you can trust. And it just, different colors portray different emotions depending on what your sales tactic is for your website.
Okay, so the next one I'll talk about is dangle a carrot in front of them. So that's kind of the main point of any website is conversion. Obviously, some people don't even think of that actually, but clearly the main point of a website is to turn your visitors into customers eventually. Otherwise, why would you spend all this money to have a really nice website, right? So with that, basically the one thing people need to do is think of their website as their online kind of sales tool. And a lot of people don't, but it's important that you think of it that way, because your content should convert visitors like any other real life salesman or woman. All visitors, without knowing it, like to be told what to do. So with your content, it's important to tell them what next action you want them to take. We call these CTAs, or call to actions. But you want to tell them exactly where to go, where you want them to click, what are they supposed to do when they get here. People like that. They like to come on your website and you're telling them exactly, like go here, click here, find out more here. That's what you kind of need to do with your content to really own the customer journey, like you would if you were right there beside them selling them something. So it's important too to be like a normal salesperson and think of the golden rules of sales, which is ABC, always be closing. So if you don't close, your website's not doing what it should be doing, and it's not converting.
All right, finding a needle in a haystack. Next cliche is all about SEO. We can probably do a good long talk on SEO, but I'll keep it brief into why SEO is important for a website. As all of you know, yellow pages pretty much don't exist anymore. When people need to find something, they're going to go to Google to find it, so you better be there. Obviously nowadays though, every business has a website, so there's heavy competition in Google listing your company before somebody else's. So if you're not showing up on the first page or even second page, you're probably not getting found on Google and you're not doing your job. So it's important to do SEO in your content. So there's lots of on-page content tactics that you can use. that I'll get into later. But it's important to start early, because the sooner you get started with your SEO when you're doing a website, the sooner you'll be able to build that rank and stuff like that. So yeah, just important to keep in mind as you're building your website for your content as well.
So the next cliche is love is blind. So with this one, I'm referring to engagement. Not that you would get engaged to somebody if you were actually in love with them, but with engagement, I'm talking about, well, maybe you would, I don't know, but you shouldn't. No, but I'm talking about using your content to engage visitors on your website. So, and with that, I'm kind of referring to maybe in your content marketing strategy. I know last time somebody did a whole talk on content marketing, so it's again kind of a beast of its own, but if for those of you who aren't familiar with that phrase, in one word, it's basically, or in one word, couple sentences. It's the newest and fastest growing type of marketing out there, and it's kind of the whole theory of it is you're pulling people in to your brand and your company versus the traditional kind of pushing out, which is, you know, radio, billboards. So you use content to do that. So where the love is blind comes in is if you produce good content, like genuinely good content that people think is interesting or resonates with them, whatever, they will engage with it whether or not they know they're doing it. So if you put out something really good on Facebook or in your blog and, you know, that resonates with me, I might like it, I might pause and take time to share it, maybe tag my friend, oh, this is so us, or something, right? So you're engaging with that content, and that's kind of the essential thing that needs to happen to be successful with your content marketing and any content you do. Likewise, if you produce bad content, or not even bad, but just kind of useless or not that relevant, it'll just kind of get lost in the black hole of cyberspace, and that's really not doing what you want it to do. So it's important to be engaging with your content. I guess we'll move on to this is kind of the how now, the how cliches. So those were the 4 things, kind of why content's important. This is us kind of trying to explain how you might do that. So Micah talked earlier about images and how they're very important. This one's pretty easy, this cliche. A picture says 1,000 words. Pretty simple. Our recommendation here is professional only. So the images, because they make such a big impression on your first impression on your customers, on your design, we really recommend that you either kind of get a professional photographer, buy some stock photos. Unless you have a really nice camera, it's best not to kind of cheap out with those things, because you can really tell on a website whether or not professional photos have been used. That's pretty much, that one's pretty simple. So we'll go to the next one. Okay, this one's mine. This is a weird cliche. I hadn't actually heard of it before, but when in Rome, do as Romans do. Yeah, I know, that's what I thought, but it actually makes sense because it means act like those around you. So you need to know your audience. When you actually get into the writing part of your content, you need to know who you're talking to. You need to act like your customers. So what I was talking about before with conversion and actually using content that makes, you know, it's persuasive and means something, you need to speak their lingo. Like, what would your customer want to know, or what are benefits they're looking to see? What are their motives for being on your site? These are all types of things that if you have the answers to, you can make those call to actions again on your website that actually stick with a person and make them want to click it. So even if you did a call to action, but if it didn't mean anything to me, that doesn't mean I'm going to click it. So that's kind of the key. And the number one thing when writing content, I would say, above all else, is know who you're talking to. I guess one really good example I have, there's just one good part. It's kind of a simple example, but we had a client who his whole business was online, and he was a car loan application company. So pretty simple. His audience was obviously people wanting financing for a new car, probably people who didn't get it through the dealership, so you know, those types of people are on his website. Clearly what they want to do on there is get financing now, apply now. So that's kind of obvious, but the not so obvious thing that he kind of picked up on, and the way that we designed the whole site, was this whole 1, 2, 3. So this easy as 1, 2, 3, because the main thing when you're applying for stuff online, everybody, regardless of what it is, they don't want it to take forever, right? They're like, oh, how long is this going to take? What's the process? Oh, never mind, I'm not going to do it. So that's how we designed the whole site, was easy as 1, 2, 3, get financing with me, and that was kind of this whole thing and how he based it off. So that was him really knowing his audience and then really getting those conversions that he was looking for.
All right, built like a brick shithouse. This is a cliche for building your website with strong SEO. There's a lot of topics I can talk about on SEO. There might even be a talk today on it. But one of the things I want to talk about, one part of SEO is something you can do is blogging. So one thing Google really likes to see is new content on your website, and it also gives you the ability to create new content with new keywords. So having a blog or a news section on your website where you can produce articles about the business that you're in, maybe educating your audience and stuff like that, is important to help you rank well in Google. Each post will contain specific keywords that you can use to rank for that keyword in Google. You can target that page on your website directly to get the audience searching for those specific keywords. Blog posts are also very good way for you to share articles online and use social media to interact. Social is now a very important part of SEO. Google does count how many shares your pages get, how many tweets an article is linked in, and all of those factors are important. So having a blog gives you a place to write articles and then share on social media. Obviously, the better they are, the more they're shared, the more they're tweeted, the better your SEO will be. Using a blog is also a great way to create credibility for your company. Writing educational articles for your industry, for your type of business, it gives people a place to come back and read about something that's happening in your industry or tips and tools for your audience that they might need to know. So that kind of ends that one. It's go time. This is the last cliche on basically engagement. Throughout your website, writing the content is really important, and this is kind of like the words that you use to engage your audience. First and foremost, it's important to, like Megan said earlier, I guess, is write to your audience and then write to Google second. Obviously, it's important to create a list of keywords that people are going to be using to find your company, include those in page titles and throughout your content on the site. But when you're writing those articles and that content on your site, it has to be engaging. It has to catch the eye of your audience. Has to keep them engaged to read more. There's different ways, different techniques that you can do that through blog articles and stuff like that. But keeping your audience engaged through content is very important. So writing well is something that you should get good at. But the next point is kind of what I'll go to next. This is kind of a wrap up and an important key concept for creating content. One of the things that people struggle with creating website content is they think it's a big hassle. They think they don't have time for it, and time is money. So it's important when you do create content that you set a deadline for yourself for the content you're creating on your website. It usually doesn't take as long as you think. People are just scared to start, we feel. So if you set yourself a deadline, and we try to help clients set deadlines for them to finish and write their content, find their pictures, get it all together. It's a really good way to actually finish the project. You can always improve on that content later, but just get it done first and then improve later. So that's it for the presentation.